The 15 most unreachable places on Earth. There are places where no road leads, where no signal reaches, and where no one really knows if a human has ever set foot before. Corners of the Earth where nature still writes the rules, and we, humans, are just brief visitors. Today, we'll travel to those blind spots of our planet, not for tourism, not for curiosity, but to understand why, even in the 21st century, there are still frontiers no one has ever crossed. The world feels mapped out, or at least, we think it is. Satellites show every inch of the planet. Trade routes link oceans, and even deserts have coordinates. But there's one thing technology still can't conquer: the untamable. In this journey, there are no highways, no GPS, no way back. Only wind, ice, jungle, and stone. There's heat that burns, cold that cuts, and landscapes where the human body simply doesn't belong. And yet, there are stories. Because even in the most extreme corners of the Earth, we've left traces: an abandoned outpost, a forgotten monastery, a lighthouse that dared the ocean. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore the 15 most unreachable places on Earth. They're not the tallest, nor the most famous, but the ones that live beyond time and beyond comfort. The ones without airports, without roads, untouched by the rush of modern life. Number 15, Coobo Station, Japan. On the island of Hokkaido, where cliffs fall into the sea like blades and the wind never stops, there's a train station that feels suspended between reality and memory. Coobo Station. No roads lead there. No houses, no stores, no voices. Just a lonely platform guarded by mountains and ocean spray, where trains still stop in silence. Even if no one gets on, even if no one gets off. Coobo is one of Japan's so-called hidden stations, places that still appear on railway maps, but have long been abandoned by people and time. The nearest village vanished back in the 1970s. Since then, the station has remained standing, a quiet act of melancholy resistance. The only way to reach it is by train, and those who dare to step off there do it for one reason: to witness emptiness. A beautiful, overwhelming emptiness with no signal, no service, and no easy way back. There, between the roar of the ocean and the creak of rusted rails, you understand something. In some places, loneliness isn't absence, it's identity. And if you thought a ghost train in Japan was the most remote thing you could imagine, wait until you find a place where the road doesn't end on a track, but disappears into an impenetrable jungle. Number 14. The Darien Gap, Panama, Colombia. There's a point in the Americas where progress suddenly stops. No highway, no bridge, no tunnel, only jungle, swamp, impossible rivers, and the raw will of nature. That place is the Darien Gap. It's the only missing link in the Pan-American Highway, the road that connects Alaska to Patagonia. And that's no accident. Here, the jungle grows as if it knows it must protect something. Mountains blend with dense mangroves, and creatures roam freely, unafraid of humans, because they rarely see them. Crossing the Darien isn't just a physical challenge. It's a political, logistical, and moral one. The terrain is treacherous. The rains swallow everything. And on top of that, armed groups and smugglers turn the wilderness into a human risk zone. There are no tour routes, no guarantees of return. Few have crossed it. Even fewer came back to tell the story. But if this jungle can stop modern civilization in its tracks, wait until you see the next place. An island that closed itself to the world. By choice. Number 13. Niihau Island, Hawaii. Just a few miles off the coast of Kauai lies an island where there are no tourists, no media, and no cameras. No lights, no roads, no modern noise. Here, time doesn't move forward. Not because it can't, but because the people who live here chose not to let it. This is Niihau, Hawaii's Forbidden Island. Since 1864, the island has belonged to the Robinson family, who bought it under one condition: to preserve the Hawaiian language, culture, and way of life. And they've kept that promise. There are no cars, no shops, no power grid. About 100 residents live off the land, farming, fishing, and drawing energy from the sun. They speak Hawaiian, dance the hula, and treat the land not as property, but as shared heritage. Access is strictly controlled. Only those with direct permission from the owners can enter. Not even other Hawaiians can visit freely. And that isolation has turned Niihau into a cultural sanctuary, a living time capsule protected by distance and silence. But if this island lives disconnected by choice, the next one survives by necessity, because no boat, no plane, and no bridge can reach it, unless the weather decides to let you. Number 12, Bouvet Island, South Atlantic Ocean. Imagine standing in the middle of the ocean, closer to Antarctica than to any sign of civilization. Glaciers surround you. Black volcanic cliffs rise from violent waves, and nothing suggests that a human has ever lived here. This is Bouvet Island, the most remote piece of land on Earth. Owned by Norway, this volcanic rock is so isolated that it doesn't even have a port. The weather is brutal, freezing winds, towering waves, endless fog. To reach it, you need a ship, a helicopter, and a lot of luck. Many expeditions have tried and failed. There's no visible vegetation, only ice, stone, and seabirds that have made emptiness their home. Bouvet has no human history, or so it seemed. In 1964, a small abandoned boat was discovered on its shore. No name, no flag, no people. No one ever figured out where it came from, just a mystery left drifting in the cold. Today, Bouvet is a protected nature reserve, visited only by a few scientists who study polar conditions. And when they set foot there, they know they're stepping into a world untouched by mankind. But if Bouvet is pure isolation, the next destination takes that idea even further. Because this place isn't just remote. It's sealed off from the world beneath 4 kilometers of ice. Number 11. Lake Vostok, Antarctica. Beneath nearly 4 kilometers of solid ice, hidden for millions of years, lies a lake that has never felt sunlight, wind, or human presence. It's called Lake Vostok, a secret ocean trapped under Antarctica. This vast subglacial lake, roughly the size of Lake Ontario, has been sealed off for more than 20 million years. No contact with the atmosphere, no exchange with the outside world. It exists in complete isolation, a frozen time capsule of Earth's ancient past. Scientists believe it could hold unknown forms of life, bacteria perhaps, or something that might redefine what we know as life itself. Reaching it has been one of the most ambitious scientific challenges in modern history. Only in 2012 did a Russian expedition finally drill deep enough to touch its liquid surface. But just for a moment, carefully and reverently, as if knocking on a door that maybe shouldn't be opened yet. Lake Vostok has been more isolated than the surface of Mars. While probes have captured every inch of the red planet, this entire hidden ecosystem lies right beneath our feet, unseen and untouched. It's the last virgin ocean on Earth, and for now, it will remain that way. And if this world sleeps beneath the ice, our next destination hangs from the sky, a sacred place built not for the body, but for the spirit. Number 10. Tiger's Nest Monastery, Bhutan. Clinging to a cliff more than 3,000 meters above the ground, there's a place that wasn't built for the body, but for the spirit. It's called Paro Tak Sang, though the world knows it as the Tiger's Nest Monastery. Hidden deep in the heart of Bhutan, this sacred site is one of the most revered symbols of Tantric Buddhism. According to legend, the master Padmasambhava flew here on the back of a tigress and meditated in a cave on this very cliff, founding one of the holiest sanctuaries in the Himalayas. There's no road to get here. The only way is on foot, a long, steep trek winding through pine forests, stone steps, and sheer cliffs that seem to hang in midair. The oxygen thins, the body tires, but the reward isn't a destination, it's a feeling. Golden roofs glimmer against the rock, incense smoke drifts among the mountains, and ancient paintings cover every wall. Here, visitors don't come for photos, they come seeking silence, and they find it. But if altitude in Bhutan means spirituality, in our next destination, height turns into isolation, a place where winter cuts the roads, and solitude becomes a way of life. Number 9. Medog County, Tibet. For centuries, Medog was the only county in Tibet without a road. Not for lack of trying, but because nature simply refused to allow one. Here, the land is a fortress, steep mountains, endless rain, and thick jungle walls that close off the outside world. For generations, trails would open during summer and disappear under snow by winter. It wasn't until 2013 that a modern road finally broke through the isolation. Yet even today, landslides and brutal weather often cut Medog off for months. But this isolation has protected something precious: its soul. Medog is considered sacred, blessed by Guru Rinpoche, and for centuries it has been a destination for spiritual pilgrimages. People here live by farming, gathering medicinal plants, and practicing a quiet reverence for the earth that sustains them. And it's not only humans who thrive here. Red pandas, golden monkeys, and rare mountain species still roam freely, as if they too know that civilization hasn't fully arrived. Medog is more than a remote corner of Tibet. It's a reminder that some places preserve peace by staying unreachable. And while these mountains whisper about faith and balance, the next destination shouts something entirely different: a frozen frontier where survival depends on the mercy of the sea. Number 8. The Kerguelen Islands, Southern Indian Ocean. If the planet had a refuge for absolute solitude, it would be here, in the far reaches of the Southern Indian Ocean. More than 3,000 kilometers from the nearest inhabited coast lies a windswept archipelago known as the Kerguelen Islands, or as sailors once called them, the Desolation Islands. There are no cities, no airports, and no direct routes. The only way to reach them is by ship, and only a few scientific expeditions attempt the journey each year. Here, the wind rules, the glaciers never rest, and human comfort is just a distant memory. The French scientific base, Port-au-Français, is the only inhabited point in this forgotten world. Teams of researchers rotate in and out to study the climate, glaciers, and the fragile ecosystems that survive here. They come in shifts, because missing a ship's departure means being trapped for months. The glaciers slice through the horizon, and the Mount Ross volcano rises nearly 2,000 meters above a land that never truly thaws. Seals and albatrosses are the true residents. Humans are merely tolerated guests. And while Kerguelen shows us the vastness of emptiness, our next destination reveals the opposite. A place where life still thrives, not despite isolation, but because of it. Number 7. Tristan da Cunha, South Atlantic Ocean. There's a community that lives at the edge of the world, literally. More than 2,000 kilometers from the nearest settlement, in the middle of the South Atlantic, lies Tristan da Cunha, the most remote inhabited archipelago on Earth. Only about 250 people live here. There's no airport, and only a handful of ships make the dangerous crossing each year. Even then, the sea often decides whether they can land or not. But Tristan isn't a prison. It's home. The islanders farm, fish, and look after one another. Life here depends on cooperation and the rhythm of the ocean. There's no rush, no social media noise, only the sound of wind, waves, and human connection. Education, healthcare, and supplies all exist, but everything arrives by boat, in slow cycles. Even the mail comes by sea. Here, relationships aren't built on likes or posts, but on shared meals and bonfire nights. Tristan da Cunha is proof that isolation doesn't always mean loneliness. Sometimes it means belonging. And while this island teaches us about community at the edge of the world, our next destination takes us to a place so far, so cold, that even light itself seems to struggle to get there. Number 6. Ittoqqortoormiit, Greenland. There's a place in Greenland where ice rules and human words are few. Between endless fjords and skies torn by auroras stands a small, isolated settlement called Ittoqqortoormiit, a name hard to pronounce, but even harder to reach. The journey begins with a flight from Iceland to a distant airstrip. From there, depending on the season, you can only continue by helicopter, snowmobile, or dog sled. In winter, the route freezes shut completely. No roads, no cars. Just white silence and the hum of the Arctic wind. Only about 350 people live here. They hunt seals and polar bears, fish through the ice, and depend on the land and sea in a way the rest of the world has forgotten. There are no supermarkets, no shopping centers, only what nature provides. But Ittoqqortoormiit isn't just an extreme settlement. It's also a living laboratory. Scientists come to study melting ice, wildlife adapted to the cold, and the delicate balance of the Arctic itself. If the Arctic is white and wild, our next destination is its fiery opposite, a red, volcanic world shaped by storms, secrets, and centuries of survival. Number 5. Battery Point Lighthouse, California, USA. In Northern California, where giant redwoods touch the sky and the Pacific roars without pause, there's a small island that appears and disappears with the tide. On it stands Battery Point Lighthouse, one of the oldest and most resilient beacons on the West Coast. To reach it, timing is everything. Only when the tide recedes can you cross the narrow rocky path that connects it to the mainland. A single mistake, and the ocean traps you there for hours. Built in 1856, the lighthouse has survived countless storms, earthquakes, and even a tsunami. The most devastating one came in 1964, when a 6-meter wave from Alaska slammed into the coast. Battery Point stood firm, not a single crack. Today it serves as a small museum, a time capsule filled with oil lamps, handwritten logbooks, and walls that still smell of salt and old stories. Standing there isn't just about looking at the ocean, it's about listening to it. And here's a curious fact. On a clear day, you can see the spot where 3 tectonic plates meet. It's as if you're standing right on the edge of the earth. But if solitude here is something shared by turns, our next stop takes it to the extreme, a place so isolated that its closest neighbors are drifting in orbit above the planet. Number 4. Alert Station, Nunavut, Canada. Just 817 kilometers from the North Pole on the frozen island of Ellesmere, stands the northernmost permanently inhabited place on Earth. Alert Station. A small outpost where the world feels suspended between ice and silence. In winter, the sun disappears for months. In summer, it never sets. Temperatures can drop below -50 degrees Celsius. No trees, no darkness. Just endless white wind and the quiet knowledge that you're closer to the Arctic Circle than to any other human settlement. Operated by the Canadian Armed Forces, Alert was born during the Cold War, when it served as a listening post to intercept Soviet communications. Today, it's used for atmospheric, meteorological, and satellite research. The few who live here by rotation are nicknamed the Frozen Chosen. A curious fact: in Alert, it's far more common to spot a polar bear than to receive mail. And if transport fails, weeks can pass before another flight arrives. Alert is more than a station. It's proof of human persistence in a place that doesn't want us there. But if Alert represents the frozen edge of civilization, our next destination tells a very different story. A tiny island with fewer than 50 people, and a history written in fire and rebellion. Number 3. Pitcairn Island, South Pacific Ocean. In the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean lies an island so small you could walk across it in less than an hour. Yet its story could follow you for a lifetime. This is Pitcairn Island, a place that was once both refuge and punishment, born from one of the most famous mutinies in maritime history. In 1789, part of the crew of the HMS Bounty rebelled against their captain. Some of the mutineers, along with a few Tahitians, escaped and hid here, on this uninhabited island at the edge of the world. They burned their ship to avoid being found and began a new life in total isolation. Today, their descendants still live here. Fewer than 50 people. They survive through farming, fishing, and small-scale crafts. There's no airport, no harbor, only a rough landing spot known as the Landing, where boats can dock if the sea allows. Getting there requires patience, skill, and luck. A curious fact: the surnames of the original mutineers are still carried by every family on the island. Each person here is a living page of British naval history. And while Pitcairn preserves the past in its purest form, our next destination takes us into the present, to a place where fire and ice coexist, and even oxygen struggles to stay. Number 2. Mount Erebus, Antarctica. On the most hostile continent on Earth stands a volcano that never sleeps, a white giant with a heart of fire. This is Mount Erebus, one of the few active volcanoes on the planet with a permanent lake of molten lava, surrounded by eternal ice. Located on Ross Island, Erebus is the second highest volcano in Antarctica. Its crater constantly spits gas and glowing rock, creating a breathtaking contrast. The burning core of the Earth against the frozen silence of the poles. Reaching it requires one of the most complex scientific expeditions on the planet. No roads, no easy access, only specialized helicopters, thermal suits, and a logistics chain that begins thousands of kilometers away in New Zealand. Even in summer, temperatures hover around -22 degrees Fahrenheit. A curious fact: Mount Erebus was discovered in 1841 by explorer James Clark Ross, who named it after one of his ships, itself named after Erebus, the ancient Greek god of darkness, a name that fits perfectly. A place both dark and alive, where lava glows beneath the coldest skies on Earth. And if Erebus is the dance between fire and ice, our next and final destination takes remoteness to its absolute limit. A point floating in nothingness, so far from land that the closest humans are orbiting above it. Number 1. Point Nemo, South Pacific Ocean. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, there's a spot where you can turn in every direction and see nothing. Not because of fog, but because there is nothing. Over 1,000 kilometers from any land, this is Point Nemo, the most distant location from solid ground on our planet. Its name is no coincidence. It comes from the Latin word for no one, and from the legendary Captain Nemo, the explorer of impossible worlds. Here, even astronauts aboard the International Space Station pass closer overhead than any person on Earth's surface. The waters around Point Nemo form a marine desert. No nutrients, no rich currents, almost no life at all. And yet, this place has a purpose. It's Earth's spacecraft graveyard. NASA and other space agencies around the world use these coordinates to crash satellites, rockets, and stations when their missions end. Reaching it requires a strong ship, endless fuel, and more patience than courage. There's nothing to see, and yet somehow, you see everything. We've arrived at the end. 15 places where humanity barely touches the landscape, where geography sets the limit, but curiosity dares to cross it. From stations no one visits to islands where time stood still, from volcanoes burning under ice to coordinates so remote that even the wind seems lost. Each of these places reminds us of what we've explored, what we still don't understand, and what we might be better off leaving untouched. Because in a world where everything is just a click away, there are still frontiers that demand respect and silence. If this journey moved you, share it. Tell us which destination left you speechless and why. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that don't just show you the world, they make you feel it. This is Latitude 0. See you on the next journey, where the signal fades and the story begins.